Justice League Dark Annual number 1, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Mikkel Janin. So this is the conclusion to the war for the Books of Magic. And last issue we had Nick Necro showing up, taking Zatanna captive, and going to where the books are. Meanwhile, blasting the House of Mysteries, where Constantine and team were in the middle of the desert. So, house is in ruins. Black Orchid kicks out the door, and they all just hang around, just being like, all right, is everyone good? Everyone alive? And this Dead Man's like, I mean, kinda, not really. So, at that point, they put everything together, like, okay, so they're almost to the Books of Magic right now. How are we going to do this? And Black Orchid asks some clarifying questions for people who didn't read the Zero issue and have no idea who Nick Necro is. Constantine just explains he was an old friend. I stole Zatanna from him and then sent him to hell. So, bad blood there. But anyway, it's like, all right, so we need to get moving. House of Mystery is going to take some time. So we have a different plan here. And lo and behold, out of the sky comes Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. Because why not? So then we cut over to the House of Secrets where Nick Necro is. And he basically just lays out his evil plan to Zatanna. And he's like, hey, Zatanna, I want you to know exactly how we got here. So, way back when you betrayed me, I was investigating the Books of Magic. What you didn't know is that I actually overheard a member of the Cold Flame, who is a cult that also is interested in Books of Magic, and I took him and I tortured him for like a week until finally he gave it up. And finally he mentioned this temple in the middle of Peru. So I went down there, and when I got in there, turns out there was a giant skeleton of the wizard Mordru, and he had the map literally right in his hands. So I sat there for like 3 days trying to break it open using every spell I could, and I couldn't figure it out. And I got frustrated, and I threw the map at the skeleton, and then the skeleton had a spell on it which put a vision in my mind of Merlin and Mordru. And as we know from earlier in this story, they worked together to find the Books of Magic, but they didn't trust each other with it, so they scattered the knowledge or whatever, separated map and key, or box and key, I guess. So then he learned then he had a secondary vision that regardless of if he even could get the map and the key, because Timothy Hunter, aka that kid Xanadu was interested in, was still alive, people in his bloodline are destined to have control of the book. So even if they got the books, if he's still alive, they couldn't access the book. So that's why Felix Faust was going out to get him. Speaking of Felix Faust, he was the one who he was also looking for the Books of Magic. He realized that Nick Necro had some more info, so he made a deal with the devil, or some random demon, to sell his soul in order to get Nick out of hell. And now they're working together to find the Books of Magic. Also, he realized that during some fight with the Justice League, that there was Merlin's key, the key to the box, inside Argus's Black Room. So they found the weak link in the magic side of Argus in the form of Dr. Mist, promised him he'd get his wife back, and that's how they managed to have their whole team. But on top of all of that, it turns out that the reason that the Justice League Dark formed under Argus, not the first arc, but the second arc, the reason that all of that happened was because of the machinations of Nick Necro. He was the one who put it all together and whispered in people's ears until finally it all came together. So the whole reason he did that was just so he could hurt Z and con Constantine, because why not? That's what they do. Anyway, they arrive in Nanda Parbat, and that's where the books are. So, cut back to Constantine, Frankenstein, and the bunch. The House of Mysteries is putting itself back together because, of course, it can. Why not? And as soon as they gets fully reassembled, Xanadu and Timothy come out, and they're like, hey, we're here. Felix Faust came for Timothy, but I just was lucky to be there. So let me tell you this other stuff I saw. And Xanadu explains the vision of everyone dead and Constantine corrupted by the Books of Magic. And it's just like, oh, you were the one who told me in the vision to go get Timothy. Timothy's like, I don't have my magic anymore, so I don't know what you want from me. And Constantine's like, I'm willing to bet that you just need a kickstart of magic. Demon Butler, go get my gemstone. So we cut back to Nanda Parbat. Black Boris and Blackbriar Thorn, yes, that's his name, are back to good after the last issue. And then Felix shows up and is like, hey, I didn't get the kid. And Nick Necro's like, are you kidding me? You had literally one job. You are absolutely useless. And they start fighting a little bit before Dr. Mish chimes in being like, hey, if you don't have the kid, that means that Constantine has the kid, and then he's going to come here anyway, so we'll just wait it out. It's like, fine, whatever. Guess we'll wait. So anyway, the House of Mystery then goes through and just be like, all right, Nick Necro's at Nanda Parbat. We can sense that. What are we going to do? And over in issue 0 of Sword of Sorcery, Constantine picked up a gemstone belonging to Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. And here he pulls it out, summons her, and she just shows up on their table being like, what is this? Where am I? Am I on Earth? This isn't Earth. Where am I? And he's like, oh, you're in Limbo. You're in the House of Mysteries. Anyway, I'm the one who summoned you. And she's just basically explaining who she is for people who haven't read the 2 issues of her book so far. And Timothy chimes in. He's like, hey, I also think all of this is crazy. I'm Timothy, by the way. And she's like, oh, my name's Amaya. And they shake hands, which is enough to jumpstart Timothy's magic. And he's like, whoa, I feel even more powerful than before. So then Frankenstein starts like laying the moves down on Amethyst for some reason. And he's like, hey, you offhandedly mentioned in an earlier panel that you don't like to kill. Just stay behind me and you do your best. So anyway, they also arrive in Nanda Parbat, and it's just like, okay, we're only missing one member of the team. House, bring Andrew Bennett from iVampire. And so he shows up. He's like, what? I was doing a thing in my own book, but this takes place of me doing something. Like, this takes place before issue, 9 of his book. He was very much set in the past because it could not fit anywhere else. And so Constantine has his whole team lined up and is like, all right, let's go. We're going to fight. And all of the cultists with their machine guns are all waiting outside, along with the Blackbriar Thorn and Black Boris. And then you just get into a generally large fight scene. Deadman and Black Orchid are kind of like having a thing. Andrew Bennett, Frankenstein, and Amethyst are all using swords to fight. And they go up against the Black Boris and Blackbriar Thorn. And Amethyst kind of refuses to kill, but the other two kill the other 2 remaining people, so they just do their own thing. Deadman and Black Orchid are taking care of all the cultists, and the rest of them just kind of hanging around. So once all the cultists are taken care of, they're like, all right, cool, let's go after Nick and see where he went to. So they head deeper in, and there are these 4 large ice pillars in Nanda Parbat. And Nick is like, this is weird. I feel like I should be feeling more magic than I am right now. And Felix just tells him, like, hey, I have waited long enough for your stupid revenge scheme. I'm here now. I'm getting these books. And he tries opening up the box, and it causes the pillars to all shatter. And inside are the books. They are literally there. And as soon as Felix goes to touch one, he's blasted by magic that, straight up takes him out. And he's like, oh, okay, it's because Tim Hunter's still alive. We can't touch it. I think we established that already. And at that point, the rest of the team shows up with Tim Hunter. And Nick's like, fantastic. Now I can finally execute the last part of my plan. And it takes Z hostage, and he's like, here's the deal. I'm going to kill Zatanna unless you kill Timothy Hunter. And everyone's just like, no, don't do it, Constantine. He's just a kid. And even Zatanna's like, seriously, don't do it. It's not worth it. But then Constantine's like, hold on, this is my call. I'm the one who gets this side. And he looks down at Timothy, and he's like, sorry, kid. And he snaps Timothy's neck. And at that point, Timothy just falls to the ground. Frankenstein freaks out. He's like, why did you do that? And Nick Necro lets Zatanna go as he runs over towards one of the books. And he's like, finally, it's mine. And as he goes to grab it, it zaps him away. Same way it did for Felix. And they're like, wait a minute, what? You just killed Tim. Turns out, wasn't Tim. Black Orchid was shape-shifting to look like Tim. And she just faked a neck snap. Tim was actually safe, right behind the hill. So Zatanna's now freed. Nick Necro's knocked out because the books knocked him out. And it's like, all right, cool, we did it. Oh, yeah, the books of magic. Maybe we should go with that. And Timothy Hunter's like, hey, guys, I kind of feel like this is my destiny. I'm just going to go open up the book. So he goes over, he opens it up. And inside is not really like a book with pages. It's like a computer. And the voice says, like, oh, preparing boot cycle for return trip home, please wait. And all of a sudden, he starts floating up in the air with a bright white light. Zatanna grabs onto him, trying to, like, pull him back down. And then he just teleports away. And everyone's just left watching on, like, what the hell just happened? But that's where it leaves off. That's the end of the War for the Books of Magic. I really liked it. I think it was a really solid entry. I think it wrapped up all the plots very nicely. I don't know if we needed the whole thing explaining Nick Necros, like, oh, here's how I came across it, and here's how Felix brought me back, and here's all that. Like, some of that can be left a little bit vague, but they did it, and I'm not going to complain about it. It's fine. Art-wise, it looked great the whole way through. Mikkel Janin does a great job. I really don't have any major complaints with this book. The only thing that I kind of dislike is the fact that they ended on such a cliffhanger, where it's like, oh no, but like the plot can never just be done. We have to do this whole other thing of Zatanna's lost with Tim Hunter in who knows where, but we'll find out next arc. Overall, though, good issue, good arc. I'm going to give this one a 7.5. I really did enjoy it. And yeah, I guess we'll see if any of this carries over into the next arc or if it's just kind of a blank slate going in.